Good evening. My name is Giovanna Gaines, and I will be talking about my future as a counselor educator, what that looks like, what advocacy and scholarship means to me. So, one of the first things that I want to reflect on is how I can use my leadership and advocacy project to engage more in the counseling, education, and supervision field. And some of the ideas that came to my mind when I was thinking about or reflecting on bringing my advocacy to the field of the CES profession is by attending professional conferences talking about it. I really enjoy like going to professional conferences, and I can see my identity in being a speaker, especially a speaker to advocate for students, either in the doctoral program or the CES program. So, one of the ways that I see myself bringing my advocacy plan to the CES field is through professional conferences and speaking. Another way is just sharing this information with professors, students, staff, and faculty just to inform those in the academic arena about my advocacy plan. The other thing that I thought about as I reflect was possibly speaking a little bit about it with the Chicago School newsletter. And lastly, seeing myself published. So, publishing it in journal articles is another way that I can see myself bringing and shedding more light to my advocacy plan in the CEL's field. Another thing that I want to discuss is how my advocacy leadership can be turned into, or how will I use it in the teaching efforts. So as I was thinking about concerning teaching efforts, I was looking at it from the perspective or the lens of professionals, again, looking at professional conferences, students, and in the community. So, if when I think about it from an academic or a professional perspective of sharing it, maybe in professional conferences to educate other professionals on the idea of my advocacy plan. As it relates to students, because my advocacy plan is essentially more dedicated to students, specifically CMHC students. And the reason being is because I really want to support CMHC students from a holistic perspective. And when I say holistic, I mean academically, I mean emotionally, I mean financially. Now, I'm no banker, but let me expound on that a little bit. It really helped me in the field when I had one of my professors to talk to me about diversification. I never thought when I got into the CES field about diversifying my portfolio. Like my thought pattern was only I know that I want to do the clinical piece, and as a counselor educator, I would also like to possibly adjunct. Never really saw myself tenured or going to that level in academia in the CES field, but I do enjoy speaking and teaching. So, because my advocacy efforts are wrapped around a placement for mentorship, I feel like the right mentorship should start before the doctoral program. I feel like learning about diversifying one's portfolio and blazing one's own trail in this field should be discussed at the graduate level. So I feel like with the right mentorship can bring forth a holistic view about what it means to be in the CES field, meaning talking to students about diversifying their portfolio, self care. This is what I mean by emotional support. Oftentimes, students take on a lot in the CMHC programs. They're trying to support families, get work done, practicum and internship, um, time management becomes an issue. And then there's at least I know for me, sometimes there's no one there that can mentor or support that student through these different things that they will be faced as they go through the field. So when I say holistic, I mean preparing students for practicum and internship, preparing students with their theoretical orientation, just different things that were questions that I had as a CMHC student, or even now as a doctoral student, that I can talk to someone, or students can talk to someone that brings their own lived experience and their own twist on how to get through this program successfully, or programs, if you will, successfully. While my advocacy plan is to support CMHC students or master's level students, it can also be used for doctoral students, especially first generation eds. So next, I want to move on to discussing how can my advocacy and leadership be turned into a second article submission. So I'm sure you see me smile when I talk about this because I do see myself being published. I do question the strength of certain things, like possibly my professional writing skills, and I know that I'm in the program to teach me how to write professionally. But I've always been able to speak to a crowd, and I find joy in that. So when it comes to submitting articles, I first want to be competent enough and confident enough as a professional writer before I submit, but I have done some research on how I can submit and how to see myself in print. So after my dissertation, or even before my dissertation, if I can possibly link with some faculty or some of my professors to support me in writing some pieces, especially some multicultural pieces that I'm interested in writing about, what way that I can get that accomplished, then I definitely wouldn't mind doing some submissions. What steps would you need to take to submit your advocacy project as a journal article? So, so basically, I know that I would need to find a journal that is um, synonymous with my topic. And again, my topic is basically the idea to have placement for mentorship. I also know while there is a lot of mentorship programs out there, mine specifies placement. Like, we're told as students that how important mentorship is and to gain mentorship, but sometimes it's kind of left unsaid about how to go by doing it. So I want to make sure that I bring forth an advocacy plan that is specifically for placement, kind of like where students can go and advocate, interview with a few mentors, and from there, of course, selecting which mentor best fits their needs and building that relationship the same way that we build relationships from a clinical perspective with our clients. This would be students building a relationship with their mentor, and that mentor being the person who can help them in different areas as they move through the different programs. So, the steps that I will be taking is finding a topic, a journal that topic is synonymous with mine. From there, I will reuse my advocacy plan, um, rewrite it, make sure that the research and everything is professional, the writing is professional. Again, I would do that by hopefully working with a professional or professor that has already gone before me and that would understand the process a little better than what I understand at this point. Then I would submit my journal and a journal, and from there track and research, and after that share and promote it with faculty, staff, and the community. Next, I want to talk about how do I see myself developing as a counselor educator from this point forward. From this point forward, I really truly feel like it's that time to take off running. I understand publishing differently. I understand dissertation and professional writing differently. I understand not only um, the importance of me advocating for others, but I also understand advocating for myself. I feel like self care is something that needs to be utilized all the way across the board, and I've learned how to get my self care and by any means necessary, because now at this point my lens is changing from a clinical lens to an educator as well as a supervisor. And I am now coming into that professional identity and learning what I enjoy most. At this point, I enjoy the supervision piece. I enjoy the teaching piece, but not to the capacity to become tenured or anything like that, but just adjunct and giving back, especially to master's level students. What I would have hoped that I could have in my lived experience through my licensure process, through practicum and internship, and just different things that I've had to go through that I am also about to go through again at the doctoral level. So um, I see myself developing gracefully. I'm not in a rush. I can see where I have grown resilience, especially in the CMHC program. I feel like that level of loneliness and not having mentorship forced me to research and read more. I really see where my level of patience has changed. As I now supervise, I can now see from the other end how important I needed to be teachable and patient in the master's program until now. Feel like in the master's program, I knew it all. Then, after I graduated, I didn't feel fully competent, and I now understand how much at the doctoral level that I didn't know. So now I am